Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event. Buckle up, accountants. It's time for another Earmark Expo where we're taking the latest accounting tech for a test drive. Here's how it works. We're about to floor it with a live demo of a game-changing app. David and I will be in the driver's seat, putting this app through its paces and asking the tough questions every accountant wants to know the answers to. And guess what? You're along for the ride. We want you, our live audience, to help us navigate. Ask your own questions in the chat, and we will highlight them for Tommy to answer. This is your chance to see cutting-edge accounting tech in action, get your questions answered in real time, and gain insights that could transform your practice. So take a seat and let's roll with today's Earmark Expo.
Blake, you and I have a current problem right now. It's very hard for us to view our data. It's like an issue for us because we have data in our GLs, QuickBooks and Xero, data in Stripe, Google App Store, Apple App Store, Ignition, Anchor, our CRM, and I don't know, probably 20 other places I can't remember on the list right now. We just can't see it all in one spot. But today's app, Coefficient, they connect Google Sheets and Excel to lots of data sources, not just the GL. So I'm interested to see, could this be something that solves our problems?
It very well could. Maybe we don't have to build this ourselves. And joining us today from Coefficient is co-founder and CTO Tommy Tsai. Tommy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us what got you into this app that you've built. Why did you build Coefficient?
Sure. So I've been in the technology and startup space for a couple decades, and one thing that I've always been really passionate about is creating tools that help people automate repetitive tasks and allowing users to focus on more impactful work, and that's the main reason we built Coefficient. And as you probably know, spreadsheets are kind of like the backbone, right, of lots of business workflows and processes for companies of all shapes and sizes. And that's why when we built Coefficient, we decided to make the spreadsheet sort of the center of the product.
So tell us about Coefficient. What is it?
Sure. So Coefficient is a product that empowers accountants and other users to connect all their data. We have about 70 plus systems that we connect to. So we allow users to connect data from all these systems with their spreadsheet. And we have a extension for Google Sheets as well as Microsoft Excel.
So when you say data, what kind of data are we talking about?
Whatever data you need, pretty much. For the audience, the most relevant systems might be systems like QuickBooks, Xero, or Zoho Books, and systems like that. The ERP systems. So you would be able to pull in reports that you've built in those systems into your spreadsheets using Coefficient, or you can even import data that's more raw, right? Like the raw invoices, right? Your GL, anything of that sort. And one problem that we see, accountants and people in other professionals, when they're doing their work, is that their data is never just in one place, right? And when we just started off this podcast, David explained the problem that you guys are having with data sitting in a bunch of different places, and that problem is ubiquitous. Everyone has that problem. So Coefficient will help you connect to systems that are not your primary GL system as well, like database systems, your CRMs, and even analytics tools like Looker and Tableau. Or if you're a e-commerce store, we also connect to Shopify. We connect to Stripe as well.
And
right.
Tommy, do you directly integrate with all these, or is it through third-party like Zapier connection?
Yeah, that's a good question. We directly integrate with all of these systems, and the reason is that things like Zapier, right, as you mentioned, they are. We feel like those tools are a little too technical for the kind of common business user, and that's why we built all of our integrations from the ground up.
Okay.
So let's take a look. I'm eager to see, what are we gonna connect to today? Obviously, you can't do all 70 of them. So where are we gonna start?
Yeah, that's right. So first, let me talk a little bit about the problems that the audience, right, accountants might have in their day-to-day work that our product could help them solve, and then I'll go into some of the use cases that we'll run through today. So
Sounds good.
yeah, so there's a ton of manual, time-consuming work, as you alluded to earlier, David, with pulling in data from a bunch of different systems into your spreadsheet dashboards or analyses. And it's a pain to get them updated, right? It's very manual, it's time consuming, it's error prone. And what you end up with is you end up with like no time to do the actual like high value work, right? Like the strategic stuff, the advisory stuff. And I think that's a big problem that we can help accountants solve. So how Coefficient helps address those problems? We, as I mentioned earlier, we help you automate data refreshes from QuickBooks Zero or any of the other 70 data sources that we support. We have a feature that's not quite live yet, but we're working on it, which is the ability to export data from a spreadsheet back into QuickBooks. We allow you to build templates that you could use across clients, so you can standardize reporting across similar clients. You can use Coefficient to connect to, for instance, multiple QuickBooks accounts, so you can consolidate data from multiple accounts. We also offer several pre-built templates that I will show you guys in a second. And we help reduce a lot of the back and forth that you might otherwise need to have with your clients over email by having these by allowing you to build these automated reports that update automatically in the background, and they can be delivered to your clients automatically as well. So what to expect during our demo. For today's demo, I'm going to focus on QuickBooks. I was tempted to show off all 75 of our integrations, but David recommended against that, so I'll just be focusing on QuickBooks. I'll show you how our product works if you just want to import a report from QuickBooks. We'll show you a couple of our pre-built templates as well, and also our Slack alert feature.
All right, I'm looking forward to this.
Cool. Shall I get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Cool. So let me close our extension so you can see how it works. So I'm in Google Sheets right now. If you have our extension installed, you'll see it in the Google Sheets extension menu. So I'm going to launch it. The primary interface of our product is the sidebar that sits alongside your spreadsheet. And we have the same user interface for Google Sheets and Excel. So what I'm going to do is import from QuickBooks. So I've pre-connected a QuickBooks account. And I'm going to import one of the reports, one of the standard reports that I have in QuickBooks, let's say balance sheet. So now you see we're pulling in your balance sheet. We have some settings for you to kind of customize how you want to slice and dice your data. Let me do last fiscal year to date, and then maybe summarize by quarters.
I get to preview it before I pull it in, because that's always like, I import it, it's on the spreadsheet. I didn't want that, and then you get to start the import process a second time. I like
exactly.
You can preview it.
Yep. Yeah, that's why we built this kind of preview feature, so you can tweak all these settings and make sure the data that you're going to be pulling in is exactly what you want before you click the import button. So I just click the import button. You see we're doing kind of the heavy lifting on our backend systems right now, and there you have it. That's your balance sheet pulled in from QuickBooks. One thing I want to show here is you see this question: do you want to auto refresh this data? So after you set up your import, you can configure it to update automatically on a schedule. So I'm just gonna say hourly. We also have the snapshot feature. So for instance, sometimes you want to save a copy, a snapshot of your data once a week, right? Like every Monday morning or something like that. I'm not gonna go through that right now. So that's a balance sheet from QuickBooks.
So just curious about that snapshot. I know you're not going to do it now, but like, how does that work exactly? Does that mean I can revert to one of the snapshots at any time?
Yeah, good question. So what we do is we create a copy of the spreadsheet tab. So there's always going to be one tab which is auto refreshing, right? Which is live. The snapshot is a copy of that data on a separate tab. So you can't, if you have, for example, like formulas pointing to your live data tab, you can't really just go back in time immediately. For that, you can use the Google Sheets kind of history revisions feature. But that's how the snapshot feature works.
I see. So basically it's like if I do see, I can go check the snapshot at any time and see what might have changed from my current live view.
That's exactly right.
Got it. And then I can always use, so you said I can use the version history in Google Sheets to go back to a particular version if I do want to do that.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
And we just, so another way you can import data from QuickBooks. So QuickBooks has a bunch of different entities, right? Objects that are kind of at the heart of the system. So we allow you to import this kind of the more raw form of this data as well. So I'm just gonna show invoices. There's a ton of columns on these objects. So by default, we only select some of them, but you can pull in anything you want, including custom fields.
So it looks like you have built your integration to access everything that is available via the API, basically.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, you can also add filters if you want. I'm not gonna actually create that import. And what I want to show next is some of these pre-built dashboards that are built by our team. We have a team of product specialists, kind of in-house at Coefficient, who built these awesome pre-built dashboards. And the pre-built dashboards are tailored to specific data source systems. So I will show you the ones that are kind of tailored to QuickBooks. Here's a cash flow report. Just say use dashboard.
We make a copy.
Make a copy. And right now, this is still kind of the fake data. But all you have to do is launch the coefficient sidebar on this template you just copied. Finish setting up your dashboard. Let's connect to QuickBooks. Sounds good. I'm going to select my QuickBooks connection. Success. And now we're going to pull in the data. You see, like in this dashboard, there's actually 4 separate data pulls from QuickBooks that are powering this dashboard. So, yep, they all refreshed.
Accounts, those are account balances, invoices, the P&L, last fiscal year and this fiscal year.
Yes, exactly. And unfortunately, in this test account, we don't have categories for income. So
got it.
It's empty.
Yep. And then I'll show one more dashboard, which is the P&L dashboard.
And these dashboards are just out of the box. I get them once I connect my GL or my data source. These dashboards are already here, ready to go.
That's right. And we're constantly adding more too, based on kind of user feedback.
And once I copy this dashboard, I'm not stuck with how this looks. I could customize it further if I wanted to.
That's exactly right. And that's one huge advantage of using, our dashboards or building your own dashboards using Coefficient is that you can customize it however you want. What we see a lot of times is that a lot of these systems that people use, right, like QuickBooks or CRMs like Salesforce, they have their built-in reporting features. But what you actually need to run your business cannot be done in their reporting features. So everyone just will turn to their spreadsheet, and we help them build these dashboards, which you can customize however you want. And one very unique thing about Coefficient is that we integrate with 70 plus and counting data source systems, which means we support use cases like this one. This is a Shopify and QBO use case for a e-commerce company.
So looking at this, what data is Shopify data versus QuickBooks data when we look at this dashboard?
Yeah, so all the inventory stuff comes from Shopify. The kind of product catalog, inventory, that stuff comes from Shopify.
So in that items list there, with the item name, the SKU, all that is Shopify data there.
That's right.
Oh, and I see you have a QBO quantity and a Shopify quantity, so you can see if they are lining up properly.
Yep.
Ah.
That's exactly right. So for accountants out there who have clients who are e-commerce companies that use Shopify, this Shopify QuickBooks inventory dashboard is super useful. Here's another one that is for QuickBooks and Stripe. So, a lot of different companies, e-commerce or SaaS companies, use Stripe as their payment gateway. So there's a lot of information in Stripe that's not synced to QuickBooks. We have this problem ourselves. And here's a dashboard that shows you, how you can kind of build a full-on dashboard using Coefficient by pulling data from both Stripe and QuickBooks.
So you've got the QuickBooks P&L, and then you've got the Stripe invoices, and yeah, that lets you get. Oh, there we go. So now we're looking at the Stripe invoices here, and then over on the other tab, you've got the QuickBooks P&L. So that's how you get to metrics such as the average order value.
Yep.
is you're dividing the invoices in the period.
Yes, that's right.
So we've got total sales, number of orders, AOV, total expenses, and we get our net profit. So we can see our net profit against our orders. That is really nifty. Yeah, so
Well, thank you.
much of like advisory work is about, you know, not just the financials, it's comparing financial data and non-financial data and coming up with metrics that combine them. I could see how with Coefficient you could do that very quickly and easily.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's why we built Coefficient. And I'm just gonna go back to the Shopify QuickBooks dashboard real quick, so I can show the raw data that's powering the dashboard. This is data from QuickBooks, and then
so that's the QuickBooks inventory valuation, and then we've got Shopify inventory items here,
right?
With the quantity, the value, all the different details about that SKU, display name, and the ID.
And so once it's connected to Shopify as well, every week it's just, or every day or every hour, whenever I'm setting my refresh rate on this, it's going to go and talk to Shopify, get the data, talk to QuickBooks, get the data, and that way I have a true updating dashboard.
That's right. Yep. So, instead of having a dashboard that you would spend hours updating, right, once a month or once a week, now you can build this dashboard once, set it to auto update every hour, and you pretty much have a live dashboard that you don't have to touch ever again. You just go to it whenever you need it, and you can be confident that the data is like live.
Got it. I know you said it doesn't exist for QuickBooks yet, but I noticed when you're on there, when you have your toolbar on the side, if you bring that back up,
let me go. Yeah,
you have this concept of exporting data, like one of those choices.
Yes.
Can you show that? Because like that's really interesting to me for QuickBooks, right? People have messed up chart of accounts, and to fix things in QuickBooks, it just is a lot of clicking. So the concept of like get it into a sheet, fix it, and send it back is really interesting. Can you kind of show a demo of maybe how you move data into an app?
Sure.
Even at a high level.
Yeah. So for our export feature, we support a subset of the data source systems. You can see some of them here. Like I mentioned earlier, the QuickBooks export feature is coming soon. It'll probably ship in the next month or two. So look out for that. And the way this feature works is, oftentimes you would have data that you want to kind of bulk update right inside of your systems. And the easiest way to do that is to get the data into a spreadsheet, update the things that you need to update, and then just write it back, right? As opposed to going to Salesforce or QuickBooks and going item by item and editing each thing separately. So I can probably show off that feature.
So now you're going to connect an import to Salesforce.
Yes.
And then we can see what you can so you can update it in the sheet and then export it back.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm going to let's see, name.
So I can see how this could be really powerful for cleaning up a CRM. You have a lot of records, maybe the data needs to be cleaned up. Much easier to have somebody go into a spreadsheet, clean up that information, then sync it back in rather than having to open each contact or each company in Salesforce and do that.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and we see a lot of creative use cases that our users are using the Coefficient export feature for. There was a lead scoring use case that I saw one of our customers use us for, where they have a bunch of logic, right, that they've encoded into spreadsheet formulas that are powered by data coming from their database, their Snowflake database. And then they use the spreadsheet to compute lead scores using formulas, and then they write those lead scores back into Salesforce. So the sales folks can, prioritize the leads accordingly.
What a great example.
Yeah. So yes, so I've just imported this data from Salesforce, and I'm going to show the exports. So first I choose which object, and we will try to infer what data set or what object or what database table you want to update based on the data in your spreadsheet. But you can change that if you want. You can actually update records, or you can even insert records. Upsert, it's sort of like combination of insert or update, right? It's like if the record exists, update it. If the record doesn't exist, create it. So I'm gonna choose update. It auto mapped a bunch of fields, so I'm just gonna say save. So I'm just going to change. I don't like that this is Frank's account. I'm gonna change it to be my account. Account name, export.
So now it's comparing the data in this sheet to the data in Salesforce and determining what records need to be updated. And there's that one
you got
row.
it. Yep, you got it. That's exactly right. You can
I love
preview
this.
the
You can
changes as well.
preview the change. You can preview it. That's good.
Right. Yeah, because it's kind of scary, right? When
Yeah.
you're writing, especially when you're doing a bulk update, and it's like you're updating, 2,000 or 20,000 records.
This gets
right?
people fired. Yeah.
Yes. So this is a very nice safety check.
Yep. And there you go. You hit update one row, and now it's pushing that change back.
That's right. And looks like, yep, one row exported. And yeah, and we also write these kind of
you get the result and the timestamp.
Yes.
That's great.
Yep. And only one row updated, so every other row says skipped.
So basically, it's detecting the one row had different data. That's the only one it needs to update.
Yep, that's right. So very soon you'll be able to do what I just demoed against your QuickBooks data as well.
So that could mean let's say I have transactional data, expenses in QuickBooks, and I could pull in a sheet of the, say, uncategorized transactions or the Ask My Accountant transactions, category. The ones in that account. And then I could categorize them and sync it back into QuickBooks. Is that the sort of thing we're talking about?
Yep, that's exactly right. Yep, and that's a very good example where there's some, data or categorization about your transactions, right, or some other kind of entity inside of QuickBooks, and that data comes from somewhere else, right? And this allows you to pull in that data into a spreadsheet, do any kind of transforms or data cleanup that you want to do inside of Google Sheets or Excel, and then write that data back once you're happy with it.
Yeah, I'm thinking this will also be really helpful for assigning classes to transactions that don't have a class or a location. That's very hard to enforce in QuickBooks, and this would be a way to sort of do that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis very quickly.
Yeah, that's
unmapped.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And you can set up your QuickBooks import to filter on only the records that don't have the class set, right? So where every time you go to the spreadsheet, you'll see, hey, these 20 records that don't have a class. Let me go update it and export it back to QuickBooks.
And then I can just, in another sheet, I've got my P&L, my balance sheet, my dashboard, hit refresh on that. Boom, what I just did is now reflected in my financials. I think I saw you showed that you have notifications, the ability to notify users when there are updates. So could I potentially create a notification for when the sheet updates and there are, say, uncategorized transactions? Like what kind of notifications can we send?
Yeah. So let me show you. So all the notifications are under this automations button, create new. And first, if you use Zapier, we use kind of similar terminology here. So there's a trigger, right? Like basically what should trigger a notification to be sent. You can say at a scheduled time. So every morning, 9 a.m., send me a notification, or send a notification when new rows get added to a table in your spreadsheet, or whenever the sales value change. So I'm going to say new rows added with a new ID. Data range that's a good suggestion. Right, so now I'm kind of monitoring this whole table I have. The ID column, account ID. This is basically so that we know which ones are new rows, right? If we haven't seen a row with a certain account ID, hey, that's a new row.
That's the unique key field. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And then you would be able to personalize the notification message. The alert, we currently support Slack and email, so you can send an alert over email. You can send it to yourself. You can send it to your team. You can send it to your clients as well, and some of our users do exactly that. You can also send it to Slack if you use Slack as your kind of primary chat app at work. And you can use this UI and make the alert, fun or scary, whatever you want. And we have ways for you to customize how the data gets represented. And without going into too much detail, I have one alert already set up here, so maybe I can kind of show you over here. So here I have a spreadsheet that pulls in past due customer invoices. And this alert that I've set up will send me a Slack alert every time a new record gets added here, basically whenever there's a new past due customer invoice, right? And once I set that up, this is what it would look like inside of Slack. You'll see
that's
Joe's
great.
Coffee, the amount. Yep.
You have all the fields here, and you even have a little screenshot of the row.
That's right. Yeah, so let me show you how that works.
So this is neat because as you're setting that up, I'm just thinking through this in my head. I could choose if I want to send a screenshot of like a dashboard to a client every week at a specific
Yep.
time. And if I feel like it's okay to send that via email, I could do that and I could have the screenshot in it. But I can also choose not to. I could simply say, here's your dashboard, it's updated. Right?
I mean,
whatever information I want.
I think I've known accountants who've taken the uncategorized transaction report from QuickBooks, export that to a spreadsheet, emailed a copy of that spreadsheet to the client saying, hey, what are these transactions for? But now you could once a week, here's the 3 uncategorized transactions this week. Please reply back what these should be or what these transactions are.
Or just go into the spreadsheet and, here's a column.
If you want to live on the edge, let your client
notes
into the spreadsheet, yes.
Yeah, that's right. The alert will, link back to the spreadsheet that triggered the alert, so you can
now
set up your workflow like that as well. Yep.
That leads me to another question, which is if can anyone who accesses the spreadsheet push data back and forth or update it, or is that restricted to certain users?
So generally, we follow the permissions that you have set on your spreadsheet. So people who have access to the spreadsheet would be able to, edit the alerts and the imports by default. But we do have a feature where you can edit the permissions on an import. So for example, let's say you set up a import from QuickBooks and you want to share that with other people, but you don't want them to be able to edit the import and pull in all your invoices, right? As opposed to just the overdue invoices. You can make it, you can change the setting to be only me, which means only the person who created this data import would be able to change the settings on it.
Got it.
On a related question about permissions and data access, we have a question that came in from Elliot. Elliot's asking, is access to data controlled by system level access in the source system? I'm guessing this is probably when you authorize the app to talk to Coefficient, but I'll let you answer that.
Yes. Yeah. So the answer is yes. We follow the underlying permissions that you have set up in the source system. And maybe I can just quickly show what the experience looks like if I want to connect a new system. Let's say, I don't know, Salesforce, authorize. So you will see that it will ask me to log in to my Salesforce account. And the same thing would happen if you try to connect to, QuickBooks or Xero. You would basically be connecting using your end user credentials. So the only data that we would be able to pull from the system using that connection would be the data that you would be able to see if you log in directly to that system. It's a good question.
Yeah, what I love about the ability to export out and the automations that you have this built in, because accountants and bookkeepers and everybody, they're very comfortable with spreadsheets. And we've seen this, we've talked, Blake's always pushing limits of people, getting them into, look at this cool stuff you could do with Zapier and AI, and it quickly gets out of their comfort zone really fast. So for you to give that type of functionality where they don't have to invent it and build it from scratch in Zapier is pretty amazing to have that built into the product.
David mentioned AI. Let's talk about the GPT Copilot feature. How does that work?
Sure. Yeah. So the GPT Copilot features, we have a few different kind of sub features underneath the GPT Copilot button. You can use GPT from Sheet. So let me click on that. We basically expose a bunch of spreadsheet functions that you can call directly from your spreadsheet that will make the appropriate API call to OpenAI, right, to give you the response, and you can use it to do a number of things. You can pass in a prompt. So if you've used ChatGPT, you type something into a text box, right, a question or whatever task you want the AI to do. You can do the same thing here and just pass in the text into the equal to GPTX function. You can also use it to
So I could have a prompt in a cell in my sheet, and then
That's right.
reference that cell as the prompt.
That is exactly right.
Okay.
So let me.
I'm trying to think of an example of that.
Yeah. Like one good example that you reminded me of earlier when you were talking about the transactions and categorizing them after the fact. Oftentimes you have the details, right? The description of the transaction, and it's a little cryptic. There's like abbreviations in there, but a human would be able to go in and manually tag each one, and AI would usually do a pretty good job at that. So that's one way you could use GPT.
Okay, so I love this. Okay, so we could pull in the bank statement line, like the descriptor on the transaction. Let's say I've coded QuickBooks to automatically enter transactions into my GL, and to take that bank statement line, it has the phone number, it has the location, often it has some sort of like descriptor that the merchant put. I could pull that into a sheet, and then I could, through this tool, automate prompting ChatGPT to tell me to guess what this is.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we have a couple functions that are relevant here. The GPTX classify is probably what you want to use for that use case. You would pass in. I don't know if you can see how small.
Yes, I can see text?
That. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So the first parameter you pass into the function would be that descriptor, right? That somewhat cryptic descriptor. And labels, you would pass in a range that's basically all the valid
it could be
categories.
All my expense accounts from my chart of accounts.
Yep.
And then that function will basically call ChatGPT, send in the descriptor, send in the labels, and then ask it to label the transaction, to code the transaction.
And now you don't have to send it to your client at all.
We've just automated. I mean, it'd be interesting to do an experiment to see how accurate this can be.
Yeah.
Especially now that ChatGPT has web search.
Right. And you know, like oftentimes I feel like AI is still at a point where a human needs to be in the loop, right? Like it can do a lot, but it's just as confident when it gives you the correct answer as it is when it gives you the wrong answer.
Right.
So for that use case that you just described, what you can do is use GPT to give you kind of a guess, right, of the category or class or whatever it is, and then have a human go through and fill in the blanks or correct anything that's wrong.
And then once you have this sync back into QuickBooks, we could potentially sync in the account the coding. Side note, one thing I've found that is helpful when I'm doing this with like a bunch of transactions or like a spreadsheet is asking ChatGPT to give me a confidence score, like a percentage confidence score each time it does it. Because then we could put that into another column potentially, and we could sort the sheet by confidence. So we could look at the ones that AI was not as confident about.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
Like this is giving me all sorts of ideas, like this ability to take the data we have. And then, I mean, like, what about like internal audit possibilities? We could pull in the whole GL, right? We can pull in every transaction from the GL.
Yep.
So then we could run every transaction. I don't know if this is going to hit all of our limits, right, on the AI, but we could push individual transactions or the whole thing, right, into ChatGPT and ask it to identify to flag any suspicious transactions. I was just reading a story this morning in the Wall Street Journal about how companies lose 5% of revenue to expense fraud. I mean, so what better use for this than, going through all the employee expenses, trying to identify ones to look at in more detail or to audit.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And then you can eliminate things like so that inventory example, right? You want to compare your QuickBooks inventory numbers versus what's in Shopify. And you could do like an XLOOKUP, and there's ways to do it, right, through formulas, but you could maybe just have
you can just sum up those columns and just say, like, is there a difference?
Yeah, which one of these don't match?
Yeah, that allows you to get ahead of my inventory value you could even just compare the inventory value in Shopify at any given moment to the inventory value in QuickBooks. And if it's different, right, send an alert. Or at least show that on my dashboard, what the difference is.
Or tell me which ones are different without me having to create formulas.
Right. Yeah, because maybe I've got the price wrong in Shopify and somehow, or the value wrong in Shopify versus QuickBooks. That happens a lot.
Yeah, totally. And you can even, combine this with your the alerts feature, right? So you can have some data that you use GPT to maybe summarize, right? Hey, summarize these, overdue invoices, and then write a couple bullet points to put inside of that Slack alert.
So, can we see what is available in the Use GPT from Sheet option anymore? So we can generate a list of values. We can create a table of values. We can fill missing information. We can create a map. We can do text transformation. Oh, there's a lot. Yeah. Summarizing, translating. Basically, so are these functions, like these are functions that ChatGPT has? Like they look like Excel functions. Where do these come from?
So we built them.
You built them, okay.
Yeah, and basically we take in the parameters, like whatever you pass in to the function, and then we put it inside of this prompt, right? And then we make the appropriate API call to OpenAI to get the response. So
you're basically
linking.
So
it makes it a little easier to use, right? Versus just having an empty text box.
Right. Yeah, you're giving us the formula kind of format and then creating the prompt and it's all hidden. We don't have to worry about that.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Isn't-
And like at a high level, right? Like the goal of Coefficient is to connect your spreadsheets with any of your data source systems.
Yeah.
And to us, GPT, AI in general, super useful. And it's sort of another data source that you might want to connect your spreadsheets to.
Yeah.
And what
I'm thinking too, it's like we
Okay.
could, sorry to cut you off, David, but it's like there's a lot, I do a lot of like examples when I present about AI, for accountants of, let's take a set of financials and let's, put this into ChatGPT along with a prompt to do some, say, variance analysis or to create a narrative based on the numbers for the client to pre-write that so that we can edit that and then share it. I'm thinking that you could do a lot of that, automate a lot of that with these functions here. Create those narratives. Like the story behind the numbers, right? Telling the story is hard, but you can, like ChatGPT can do a lot of the basics.
Absolutely. And that's one of the ways we integrate with GPT. We also have these kind of builder features. And Formula Builder will allow you to say, hey, I want to combine text in A2 and B2. You can see some more examples here. You can just type in the formula that you want to write in English, and then we'll give you back the actual formula. So sometimes, like it's hard to remember, right, what all the functions do.
Well, that's really fast because
Excel.
What I could do is I could download this as an Excel file, attach it in ChatGPT, tell it what I want to do, get the formula. But every single time I want to do a prompt, I have to do that. But this way I can just, here we go, find the average in column G. And we're building the formula now.
Let's see what it does.
So column G is the total amount. And then it just, there you go. Then you just copy it.
Yep.
That's amazing. And it gives me an explanation.
Yep.
So you could do some really, now that's an obviously easy one that a lot of people would know, but you could do some really complicated stuff too. I mean, like David, you have a story about how you saved us like 2 weeks a year with.
Yeah, but I had to do this dance. I pasted the data in. I was like, here's the headers. I need to take this, and connect it. And I did this dance back and forth, but I'm comfortable going out to a GPT prompt. Most people aren't, and I'd argue most accountants and bookkeepers and spreadsheet lovers aren't, because it's text. Like they're not good at conversations in general. But I love how you've made this a formula, because that's how they think. And to some extent, if you think about a GPT tool, you're putting in the function you want, you're giving it the variables you want, and you want an answer. And that's essentially, when you hit equals, you put equal, you have your start your formula, and everything in the parentheses is all the variables, and that does a calculation. You really like taken away that anxiety that might be there.
Yeah, totally. And like you can see some of the other examples. Look up the value John, right, in one of the columns. In this case, maybe I want to do that on column E, and then give me the value in column G, right? So it would probably create a VLOOKUP formula that does just that.
Can we see what it does?
Sure.
Or like, yeah, any of these examples.
Yeah, although I'm gonna have to.
But we need to change. We probably need to change column.
Oops. Yeah.
Or the one that everybody always has to do is either combine the first and last name or separate the first and last name. And you always have to like look it up every time, because you don't remember exactly how to do it. You just know you usually mess it up, and to be able to just do that in plain text would be great.
Yeah. So let's try that one. Separate column E into first and last name. Oh, where's the source data table? It is here. A formula.
And it gave us an array formula with a split function nested in it.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and sometimes you might have to like correct the
column
index here. Although I could have just pasted it here, to be honest. Whoops.
I think you changed it before
Oh,
you
I
posted
added
it.
it. Oh no.
This is the pressure of live demos.
Yes. Uh, what? I'm like debugging this live.
Well, and that's, I mean, basically, if it doesn't work the first time, you
Uh,
prompt again, you try to get a new one, and it eventually works.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. If you're used to kind of playing around with ChatGPT, it's a very similar
Yeah.
kind of thing.
There
So
you go. It did it.
Yeah.
It's giving us, it gets us a starting point, something we can work
Yeah.
with.
Exactly.
That's
So
amazing.
pulling this together, because we have basically a spreadsheet that gets somebody registers for a webinar, it goes into a spreadsheet, and then we kind of parse the data because it's their first name, their last name, their company name, and it's all comma separated. But a lot of people's firm names are 3 names separated by commas, right? Or it's their first name, last name, comma CPA, and parsing that's very tricky. But now with an app like yours, we could plop you on top of that spreadsheet, and you massage the data because of the GPT first, and then you can push it into our CRM in theory, into Salesforce or wherever we want it to go. I love how you can just do a lot in one spot and not have to leave. Like that's super important.
Yeah. And that's sort of like, there's this flexibility you get with a spreadsheet interface that you can't get from any other app. And that's why we integrate so tightly with your spreadsheet. And if like, as you can see, all the features in our product are sort of these like building blocks that you can stitch together however you want, as appropriate for the use cases you want to solve.
So let's talk about pricing. How does this work? Do I pay per company? Do I pay per user? I want to sign up.
Yep. So you pay per user, per license, and there is. I can actually pull up our pricing page. In the spirit of doing things live. So yeah,
and
we have a couple
David
plans.
and I love that you have transparent pricing on your website. That's one of our favorite things.
Yeah. Every time I explore like a new SaaS app that that someone tells me about, and then if the only button on their pricing page is contact us, I just like close the tab. Right.
Yes. It's out of my budget.
Yeah, it's not for me. So we have a starter plan and a pro plan. We recommend the pro plan. And this is per user per month, right? So this is how much you would be paying per end user license. With the pro plan, you get 6 data source systems that you can connect to. With the starter plan, you get 3. Now, this is by data source. You can see here. This is like sort of the data source system type. So for instance, if you have a lot of clients, right, using QuickBooks, and you want to connect to like 20 different QuickBooks accounts, you can do that. And that only counts as one data source.
So, okay, so this is per user. So I get 6 data sources. I get 10 accounts per source. What is that? So that would be like a QuickBooks file?
Oh, yeah. This is 10 QuickBooks accounts.
Okay. So basically, if it's just, let's say I'm a solo virtual CFO, I could get for $100, for $99 a month, paid annually, I could get 10 QuickBooks files connected. So I could serve 10 clients.
That's right.
With like dashboards, with the import export. And the limit, I can do that hourly. I can update these sheets hourly.
Yep.
So
that's amazing.
How do you define a user? If I invite a client just as a view only to their dashboard, is that a user?
That is a great question. They do not count as a user. So your client would be able to, let's say you sent them this, right? They would actually be able to click open sidebar and click refresh. They can install the coefficient add-on and they can refresh the data. They can see our product. but you don't need to pay for a seat for your client.
Accountants love that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking this is actually a lot of solutions like this tend to be priced very high to start. And so it's challenging as an accountant to, like, especially if you have a small practice, to start, because, you know, you got to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, even for, you know, just one client. But this is actually something I could test out. And I mean, David and I could test this, use this for our needs, and then, you know, based on the value, right, goes up from there. I really like how you've designed the pricing model.
Thank you.
Because sometimes it's by client, you know, and then it becomes, I've never loved that, because then it becomes a calculation with every client. Oh, do I use this or do I not? But if I had 10, and I assume that as with the enterprise plans, you know, you work that out, you get more, right? Let's say you had a large firm that had, like, you know, hundreds of clients they wanted to use this with. That's doable too.
Yeah, exactly. And probably what would happen in a case like that is you would have different, you know, accountants in that firm. Each one is responsible for a subset of those accounts, right? So each user, you know, as long as they fit below the limit of 10, they can just use our Pro plan.
Got it. So basically, yeah, $10 per client per month if I use 10.
Did I make sure I heard you correctly, Tommy? So I have a firm, it's 3 of us. Each of us can put 10 clients on for our $99 for a total of 30 clients.
Well, that would be, you'd be paying per user though, right? So it'd be 3 users.
3 users, yeah.
Yeah. So each user is $99 a month.
And then now we can put on 30 clients instead of just 10.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So it really scales well to your usage and how many clients you have.
Well, we're almost out of time, Tommy. This is great. I could keep going with you, digging in, especially with the AI stuff. Is there anything else you'd like our audience to know before we go?
Yeah. So my marketing team told me that we have a special for accounting firms, which is 1 license free for a year if you are just using our QuickBooks integration. And to get that discount, you would just need to send an email to team@coefficient.io.
Team@coefficient.io. I'm putting that into the chat right now.
Yeah. Oh, I wish it was here, but I was looking at our slide deck, but yeah, it does. The email's not there.
David will put it up on the screen right now.
Yeah, I'll change this right here. So it's
perfect.
One of our listeners,
coefficient.io.
Yeah, team@coefficient.io. And you can also reach out to that email address to sign up for our referral program. So let's say you work with a bunch of clients and I mentioned earlier that your clients can refresh the dashboard, right, without you having to pay for a license for them. But once they see, you know, how Coefficient works, there's a good chance that they also want to get a license so they can do their own automations. So if you refer
on the operational side, right?
Right, exactly. So if you refer a client, you would get 20% of the first year of their subscription fee.
That's a nice perk. One of our live viewers, Kristen, said, I tried this a couple weeks ago. It's going into practice February 1st.
Amazing. Thank you, Kristen.
It's so great for folks who need really custom reporting, and especially those who are more visually inclined rather than the number of walls. Yes. And by that, I think Kristen means when you send a client the P&L and the balance sheet, it's just walls of numbers, right?
Right.
So yeah, creating that visual is so helpful.
I love that quote.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. Tommy, thanks so much. Stay tuned for a brief message about how to earn CPE for attending. And we hope to see you all on a future Earmark Expo soon. Bye, everyone. Today's event has ended. To earn CPE, go to earmark.app or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in or create your free account. search for the course by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this event. It takes a few days to make the course, so if you're attending this event live, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the course is available. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE, then tap the button to email yourself a certificate. Stay tuned for more events from Earmark. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.